Welcome to another episode of the Bloomers Podcast. My name is Amr. The Bloomers Podcast is a podcast about mental health, self-help, basically conversations and things that aren't normally spoken about publicly. So this episode is about relationships and love. I don't know what the title is, but we'll figure it out. Talking about this stuff. I do this around every 6-ish months, just to talk about my progress with it, because it's funny and it'll be cool to look back on when I'm older and stuff, and obviously to help myself and help people. So as stupid as that sounds, as corny as that sounds, but yeah, obviously first and foremost we got to talk about the extended family that's going to see this. To all you guys, man, because for people who aren't brown, or if they're not Muslim, this isn't really the most family friendly accepted topic to talk about. So talking about it is like breaking like an unspoken rule. And in most traditional households, you don't talk about this type of stuff with your parents and stuff. So it is an uncomfortable space for me, but the whole point of this channel is like breaking that barrier and stuff, and like who cares type attitude. So I've always been single. I've never had a real. I've obviously talked to girls and women, or whatever you want to call them, girls when I was like not an adult, and women when I'm an adult, when I have been an adult. But it's never been like, serious, even though that's what I've really wanted since I was 16, and I'm 21 now. And this year especially, I have really been accelerating my relationship search, because you got to search for one and you got to create it. You can't find one. You gotta create one. But in this year, like in particular, I've learned so much, and I want to talk about my mistakes. A lot of the mistakes that I made when going about this. So to start things off, a lot of ego was involved. Now me, I'm a pretty emotional person. I don't mean the type that's like yelling at you type thing. I mean like, I like to think about things a lot. I internalize a lot of things. I think deeply about things when they occur. And as a result of that, I don't think I have a huge ego. I always thought my ego was pretty small, but in particular things that were very, touched my emotions, that's where my ego would get involved. So that's like this podcast, right? I'm being very open in these videos. When I'm with the other guests and stuff, they're being open. It's like, and that's an example. And like, love with like my family. That's something that's very personal to me. I'm like very emotional with my family. And obviously that would also translate to, relationships and stuff. So one thing that I really screwed up, and I've now finally learned to like let it go, is just the idea of like removing your ego from approaching approaching your search for a partner. So what I mean by that is like, you can't view it as like, oh, why didn't they like me? Like when like, I don't know, they reject, like this, say the person rejects you, or the first date or whatever doesn't work out. It's like, oh, like, why didn't they like me? Or like, what could I have done for them to like me? And that's your ego speaking. And what you need to do is like, and you can't just, when I say this stuff, if you haven't gone through it, you need to experience it first, obviously. Everything I'm saying here is from experience, but like, it took me a while to like experience that and then realize like, okay, this is toxic, and like, I'm taking it so personally, and I'm not getting over this person, even though we barely even knew each other. I'm like, because I was stuck on just, why don't they like me? And like, what could I do to make people like me? And that's a terrible like mindset to be in, because it's something that's not in your control. Like, let's say I walk into some social setting and my objective is, how many people can I get to like me today? Or what can I do to make people like me? Why would I go with that approach when I can go with like, okay, let me try to meet 15 people, shake their hands, get their name. That's a much better goal to go by, and it's all 100% within your control. So what the approach should be, instead of how do I get this person to like me so I can be like, we can be together, we can have a relationship. Instead of that, it could be, what can I do to see if this would work, if this person's compatible with my values and my interests and whatnot, whatever you want. Like, it's all about desire, right? Like, what do you want in that person? And if you do what's necessary to find out whether they have those traits of what you want, and then you figure out that they don't, just, you just leave it at that. Like there's no ego. So it's a business oriented interaction. You know when you're walking around like a mall or something, or somewhere out in public, and like there's the salespeople that come up to you and they're like, hey, would you like to try our product? And you have to kindly be like, no thanks. And then they stop right there. It's kind of like that. Because a good salesperson would just like be like, okay, that's pretty normal, like screw it, whatever, next person. And I know this sounds like a very like I don't know if objectifying is the right way, or like you're trying to like diminish the meaning of, like, in my case, a man approaching a woman, but don't take it like that at all. It's just like, in this, because for me, I don't believe that men and women can be friends. That's my personal opinion. If you think it's immature, I totally get it, but I just think that two attractive, like a man and a woman who are both attractive and they're both straight, it's just, you can't be friends. You're just gonna always think about, and if that person has your similar values, interests, that's all you're gonna think about. And that's happened to me so many times, and I can't tolerate that. But that's just to remove the ego. And after this, when I made my last video on love and stuff, which was in April, that came after like a couple months worth of like searching and trying things with girls, and talking to them. And then since that video until like now, there's just been a huge drought. And in that drought, it was like trying to kind of recover from that period of like my ego kind of being like, I deserved that, I should have, this person should have liked me because I'm this. And that's such a bad thing, because you have people who tell you things, and I have a lot of good people in my life. Like the circle's pretty small. It's a couple friends and my mom, sister, dad. But they say these things to you because they're trying to help, and obviously they want to say positive things about you. But when you let it get to your head, you think you have this false image of yourself and stuff. So where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So, I just couldn't get over the fact that like those, like it didn't work out with like all those people. And then there's this amazing song, all right? It's called Close Enough to Feel You by Luke Hemmings. And that is like one of my top 3 favorite songs of all time. Luke Hemmings, I'm wearing his shirt right now. Look at this. I don't know if you can see this. If you can see that. It's his tour. I went to his tour in Toronto a couple months ago. He's my favorite artist of all time, up there with Coldplay. They switch every couple months, but so that song Close Enough to Feel You is like, it is a love song, and it's my interpretation is completely different than the actual meaning. But basically the lyrics that really stuck with me over the summer was, and I listened to the song every single day. It's one of my favorite songs ever, really good for nighttime. But it's like, the lyrics are, I just want to be close enough to feel you, but the pain is so familiar. Now I'm falling apart again. And the idea was like, when I would hear that, and this is the bad thing about music for me, is sometimes you internalize this stuff and you try to relate it to your life so much that it becomes like toxic and it makes you sad. So it was like my whole thing was like, dude, I tried this with so many people, not so many, it's literally like 5, but I tried to make it work with like these women. It didn't work, and I tried to be like close enough to feel them. And obviously you can take that in a physical sense, but I'm talking about emotionally. I just want to be close enough to feel you. What was the lyric, bro? Why am I forgetting? But the pain is so but the pain is so familiar. So it was like the pain being familiar was like that feeling of like it not working and stuff, and then now I'm falling apart again. So it was like this whole cycle that I was going through in the summer of just like why isn't it working? What's wrong with me? And that's pure ego speaking. It's taking it too personally. I guess I had this problem because I'm working away from it, and I feel like it's going away. And when I talk about it like this, it's making me feel a lot better. But like my whole life, I've had this issue of just taking things or not being really emotionally invested in things. Because I'm an emotional person, and I connect deeply with my emotions, and I think I cry more often than the average guy. Because our society thinks that men shouldn't cry and stuff. But yeah, just learning to not take things personally and trying to see relationships more as like, when you're starting, see it as like a business interaction, and it's like ego removed. And then if this person is compatible with your values and what you love, and they see eye to eye with you on things, then we screw that business interaction and then we go into the real thing. But obviously I haven't ever passed that stage, and it's been like, I haven't ever passed that stage and it's been real. So still got to wait for that. But just this victimization and of saying like, what's wrong with me, and bringing the ego in is completely wrong. Another thing that I kept, getting wrong was, I guess I didn't realize it, was how, women don't really, at my age, which is 21, or this, around this age range, they don't really want a relationship with a man, and that's because, bro, you look at the state of men, and I know some dudes are going to be like, oh, this guy's like, he's trying to simp so hard right now. He's trying to appeal to the girls. I get that. I understand. But, look, I talk about this every single episode that it's about love. But I was raised by 2 amazing, beautiful women. My mom and my sister. My dad, obviously, too. But a lot of like my perceptions of the world were formed by my mom and my sister. And I understand women in a different way than someone who has a brother or just brothers, or someone who's an only child, which a lot of people don't have a close relationship with the women in their family, which is like, in my experience, around like 75% of men, right? So what I've found the issue is like, because there's this lack of maturity, and I know it sounds like I'm saying that I'm saying I'm so mature. No, like, I have things to work on. I still need to do better in certain ways, but there's like a lack of maturity in men around late teens, 20 or early 20s, that deters women away from them. Away from those men. So that's why, and I'm basing this off of lots of conversations that I've had with girls and women, and they're saying like, oh, like, most girls out there, they want someone who's older than them. They want a man who's older than them. And that's because the people always say like, oh, women mature faster than men. And what I've heard from most women is like they want a 2-year gap because they think that 2-year gap is like the perfect. It's like equal with like, let's say like a 20-year-old woman and a 22-year-old man. They're like equal maturity, which I understand. But that's something that I couldn't really accept because because I was like thinking like, man, like what makes me unique? You know, why? Because I always thought like, and I still think that, you know, what's wrong with just being with someone your age? So that's why at like 19, 20, I was still like trying to find a relationship and create one. But I was always like, dude, like my like, I'm not some unique person with like some crazy next level thoughts. Like, why is this an issue for people? And I get it, bro, because if you just, you have to understand where the women are coming from and what they see and you know what's normal, because on average the average man versus the average woman, the average man is like emotionally and like in terms of maturity just worse, or like not as up to speed with the same age woman. And that's just something that I had so much trouble accepting. But yeah, I think I've just finally accepted that now, and that was another mistake that I was making. But there's always still a part of me that's just like, if I do ever find someone, will they be my age? Will I find someone who like breaks past this and like doesn't want like an older person to be their partner? I don't know. We'll see. Another mistake that I realized, or maybe not a mistake, but maybe something that just could be done better, is the approach towards women from my side. So a lot of what I was doing, again, I told you before in here, I don't think men and women can be friends. To an attractive man and an attractive woman who are both straight, I don't think they can be friends if they find each other attractive. But so I don't have female friends. My friends are males. And by friends, I mean like someone who you hang out with, someone who you talk to, like on iMessage, you know, someone who you hang out with outside of school, that type of thing. So I don't have female friends. My friends who are female like that are my sister's friends, but all my friends are male. That's my definition of like a friend. I guess a good friend. Too much talking. Damn. But so my like pool, my like dating pool that I could like jump into is not easily accessible. So what I just did, and I promote this a lot, and I still think it's a good thing, but I don't think it's the most effective, is just to, you know, you see someone who looks attractive, and I mean that's pretty much the only like it's stupid and it's not the best way to judge someone. I don't know what the right word would be, but you see someone who's attractive and then you go up to them, like cold approaching is what the Gen Z word is or something. So you don't know the person and then you go up to them and you say, hey, like I think you're really pretty, can I get your number? That type of thing. And I don't think that's effective, because most people that I know who are in a relationship right now, they that relationship came from a mutual friend, or it was like a social setting where they were in a group, and then like because of the group they got to know like that person better, and then they said, hey, like that person is attractive to me and they have like similar whatever, and then they like did it. So that's why I really started to work on that and like put myself in more social settings. So I joined what did I join? I dropped a volunteering role that I had that was like really pretty big for me on my resume. I dropped another one as well. So I dropped 2 of those. I joined 2 clubs, and then I joined another volunteer position. And then I'm just, every single time someone's like, there's like a hangout, I'm like trying to go to that. And it doesn't even have to be one that's like men and women. Like, it can just be men only. Like, just because you need to maximize if you're looking for a relationship, you need to maximize your social interaction, because people are just the way to do things, man. Like, people are so resourceful. People will help you. They'll also destroy you, and they'll make you feel bad. But, you get to find people through people. And I think that's a really effective way to get a relationship. And again, like, most girls out there who, in my opinion, this is my opinion. I could be totally wrong. I don't know what the women I've approached are thinking, but like, when I've gone up to them, I've always, I not always, but I have a sort of feeling that it was like, so I went for women who I thought were on my same attractiveness level, and then I would say, like, hey, like, yeah, I think you're really pretty. Could I get your number? And then talk a little bit, and then it's like, hey, let's go hang out. It's all very respectful. Okay, and I hope someone can testify for me somehow. Nah, don't do that. But someone out there knows that it's very respectful. But then when it would not work, one of my things that I would say was like, oh, they just did this because they felt bad and they had pressure on them in the moment. And if they said no, it would be awkward. Which, I don't know. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I can't say, but it's never good to assume things about people or, base your opinion of them based on one thing. It's always good to base your opinion about people through multiple things and then decide if you want to be around them or not. So I don't know. I have no idea why certain things didn't work. Some of them I do, some of them I don't. But yeah, those are like the big 3 mistakes that I really made, that I am now realizing I could have worked on earlier, but I would have never known unless I got the experience. So yeah. So through my experiences, I've come to realize that there are 4 ways that you can tell if someone is a good person or not. So, so there are 4 ways you can tell if someone is a good person or not. So, number 1, how this person spends time with you. Number 2, how this person spends money on you, if financially able. Number 3, how they speak about others when they're not present. And number 4, how they treat someone who can give them nothing. So if someone can check off all 4 of these traits, of these things, you're probably dealing with a good person. A couple of them is okay, but if they check off all 4, this person's a really good person. So use that how you will. But I just think, man, when I think about any person in my life who I love, they check off all of these boxes. And let's go through each by point. So how they spend time with you. Does this person make time? Are they asking you to hang out? Are they asking you to do this? Is it or not? And hopefully you're reciprocating that if they do. But that needs to be a part of it. It needs to be a 2-way thing. All of these needs to be a 2-way thing. But time is a really important one, because sometimes people they don't initiate the hangouts. They're lame. They're not proactive about your relationship with them, and it's awful. And then the second one was the money. So how they spend their money on you. And if this is only if they're financially able. If they're not, they're gonna put their energy in the other 3 ones. But money. So is this person when you go to their house, are they giving you stuff? Are they feeding you? Are they getting you gifts? Are they not being selfish with how they spend their money? Do they with no hesitation, sometimes just whip out the card and pay for things? I think I have so many examples of these people, and man, it's just, money speaks volumes, bro. Because money is the root of all evil in the world. But when you get someone who spends their money, they make their money, they spend it generously, I have so much respect for these people, man. Number 3 was how they speak about others when they're not present. So whether it's in a good sense or a bad sense, you can talk about someone in a bad way when they're not present, and it can be totally like respectful and not like vulgar or rude. So pay attention to how they do that. And if they're speaking about someone in a good way, like what are they saying? And like how, if this person's talking, like backbiting someone with you, this is a very common thing that people say, but like they can't be trusted, because who's to say they just don't do the same thing to you, to someone else? I don't know. It's interesting to think about. You need to, run some tests with your friends and your family, people you trust, with these 3. And then the last one, which is how they treat someone who can give them nothing. So how they treat maybe a waiter or waitress at a restaurant. Maybe it could be, maybe it's a homeless person who's asking for money. Maybe it's just, you're at work with this person. How do they treat a stranger? It's interesting to see like what, like, does this person show the other person respect? So all these things are tied to how someone treats others, and that's really the best litmus test for somebody. But you can't have the bias towards this person of like, oh, they're attractive, so we can push this off the table. No, it's like you need to be very objective, and that's why keeping your ego out, and seeing it more seeing it more in like a business oriented way, you will see things more objectively and clearly and have your emotions out in the start, right? Because obviously to have any intimate relationship, you need to have your emotions in it. And I'm very for men being more emotional and crying more and being emotionally close with women more, because I feel like there's a huge lack of that. But yeah, this is definitely, I feel a lot more positive about relationships now than I did before. In my last video, I was like pretty sad about it. I just wasn't showing it. And then, yeah, I think this just comes with time, man, and comes with sorry, that's not true, because time doesn't heal anything, man. You need to actually put in effort, and you need to think about things, and you need to talk about things, and then they'll get better. You need to this comes from action. This does not come from just sitting around and thinking about it. Yeah, time does not heal any wounds, man. It's what you do in the time that heals it. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling like in a way better space, and I'm feeling way more optimistic, and hopefully, because I'm going to say hopefully because it's not in my control. If it was in my control, hopefully is just out of this sentence. But hopefully you and me can succeed in finding a person. And if you found a person who you like and you can share good time with them, and you're empathetic towards each other, you're loving towards each other, that's freaking awesome. And I hope you learned something from this video, and maybe you can test out some of the things that I talked about in here. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Bloomers Podcast, episode 55, 56, something like that. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, and yeah, see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.